Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you each and every week on the upper tier on YouTube. Head over there and show us your support. Audio versions of the show are available through Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. Wherever you pick up audio versions of the show, you will find us there. Just search the upper tier. If you want to contact the show, Twitter @SessionsShankly, or you'll get us on Gmail, the upper tier podcast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and we are having serious crack out on TikTok at the moment with some of our viewers and stuff like that, having good fun. As always, this is your Liverpool versus Brentford preview. Joining me as always, Heavy D. Dino, how we doing?
I like that one, Heavy D. Couldn't be better, Niall, to spend the morning with my maniac lunatic son watching Sesame Street. I think I've nailed every song on the show now down to a T. As much as I'd say I'm on a par now with the Liverpool songs as I am with the Sesame Street songs.
But, Sesame Street is probably better viewing at the moment than what we had to endure the other night, but we're going to park that today.
But we can't Sesame Street.
Yeah, absolutely. Sesame Street. Well, we are coming to you here from Dublin, Ireland. I'm obviously in Wicklow, but Dino's in Dublin. It's a kind of a dull, fresh kind of mix between a winter and a spring morning.
It's a nice fresh morning, that misty rain, always.
Kind of represents the mood of the Reds at the moment, but as I said, we're going to park that and we're going to get into this preview. We're going to hope that we've learned from the other night's experience, and we're going to put on a show tomorrow at Anfield against
Brentford. I just wanted to say one thing before we do move on from Thursday, is that for all the upheaval and the shithousery around Liverpool having the original first leg of the Arsenal game called off, less than 12 hours after the Liverpool and Arsenal game, Arsenal put in a proposal to get the game with Spurs this weekend called off because not 10 COVID cases, not 9, not 8, not 7, not 6, not 5, not 4, not 3, not 2, 1. And nobody's batting an eyelid. But as I said a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, Liverpool makes the piss of everyone in the UK's blood boil, and I fucking love it. Because when Arsenal do it less than 24 hours later with no false positives, nothing like that, it's just a one case, which is a Martin Odegaard. They want the game this weekend called off because of the chance they have to get to Wembley during the week against Liverpool. They want everything fully fresh going into that game. It's a load of fucking beep.
Well, I'm going to balance that argument by saying now the reason they've put forward is they only have one fit midfielder at the moment, because obviously Granit Xhaka got sent off, and through injuries and AFCON, they apparently only have one midfielder they can field. That's the reason they're asking for the game to be called off. It's not necessarily...
Many times last year did we have to play midfielders in defence?
Oh, last year now, between all this stuff that's going on, last year seems like a totally distant memory, like it never happened, doesn't it?
But you're trying to balance there. I'm not arguing with you whatsoever, but just what you just said there, Arsenal want this game called because they've only got one fit midfielder available for... not the Spurs game and the Liverpool game. Surely the FA are going to step in here and say, yeah, you're talking about injuries here, not COVID, injuries. It's the same with Leicester. The one good performance Leicester had in the last 3 or 4 months was against us, and they fucking beat us. And the games since then have been called fucking off because of injuries. It's an absolute joke, but yeah, when Liverpool do it, just stems, and I'm completely off subject, and I don't want to get too much into it because I'm going to recommend something to you, and then when you've watched it, we're going to do a Shankly session on it, the series, and I watched the first 2 episodes last night, and just the images of Thatcher, Duckenfield, stuff like that. Everything still stems around Hillsborough and Niall. Anything that happens around Liverpool, all these fans singing always the victim. Any fan out there that thinks that rival fans don't sing always the victim, it's never your fault. It doesn't stem from Hillsborough. It's still sung now over 30 years later. It doesn't stem from Hillsborough. They're fucking blind and they're deaf and they're dumb. But you're looking at Arsenal and Leicester, and people say it's completely off the... It's not. Because when Liverpool open their mouth about having games called off, or if this happens or if that happens, it's always the same outcome. It's always the victim. That's always... I'll leave it at that.
Well, we'll see what the FA say today. They've sent a proposal in. I'm sure the FA is going to look at it. And if it was a case that they had, it doesn't... I think the situation is, it's not necessarily whether you have a fit set of midfielders. It's whether you can actually field, I think, the 14 or 15 or whatever it is, fit players. But that's the reason that came out this morning. But we'll park it there and we'll see if it's called off or not. Look, if it is, for Spurs, it means games are stockpiling. They're going to be in serious trouble with fixture congestion, stuff like that.
Yep.
And Arsenal, we know with Arsenal as well, they'd like to keep the ball rolling in terms of the top four, because if they slip out of that, even with game in hands, there's no guarantee that they'd win those games in hand. And more often than not, they haven't. So while they're up there, they need to keep on going and keep that challenge going, especially with United in a bit of limbo at the moment and stuff like that, you know. But anyway, let's get into this game. We're going to take a line from the New Day out of WWE. This is the power of positivity. We're going to move on from the Carabao Cup. Part 2 will be coming to you next week. We will be previewing it. Let's get into this league game. Brentford. Remember the first game at Brentford's grounds, it was 3-3. We took the lead, I think, on 2 or 3 separate occasions, and we pounded it.
Absolute travesty at the back.
But we're looking at Anfield tomorrow, 2 p.m. Klopp versus Thomas Frank. Sure to be a belter of a game. Going to be very competitive, especially what we seen the other night. Looking at form guide at the moment, Liverpool with 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss in the last 6 league games. Brentford are looking at 2 wins, 3 losses and a draw. So a certain amount of inconsistency there between both of us, but surely to God you would think we would have enough to get over the line on this one and push on another week into AFCON and closer to the boys coming
out. We done the beat the bookie, and you sent me a text there for to send in the bets for the show, and I stuck in straight away Jota for the first goal, Liverpool to win 4-1. I say 4-1 because I'm quietly confident, Niall, that we seem to learn a lesson. Now, I say we seem to learn a lesson from bad performances, because there's been a few this season, but we seem to come back with that kick in the bollocks from Jurgen that we don't let it happen again. I'd like to imagine that tomorrow, after the funeral procession that was Anfield on Thursday night, that the fans will make a bit of noise and get behind them. But I say 4-1 because I do think that the likes of Jota, Bobby, I'm going to stick my neck out on a limb here and say that I actually think Kate Gordon might start tomorrow. I'm hoping he starts tomorrow. I think whatever front three starts tomorrow, I think they've learned a lesson that, you know, they didn't show up on Thursday night, that they need to give a bit more to the team with the 3 boys missing, that they need to kind of step up. But I say we 4-1 because I think we can see that something doesn't seem right in the defence. Now, it's not been the case all season, but there are games where the boys don't show up and something doesn't seem right defensively. So, going into tomorrow, it is going to be a tough game. Can the boys handle Ivan Toney? I'd like to think so, but he gave them the run around in the first game in Brentford Stadium. I'm just expecting an overall better performance of about 100%, because Thursday night, we said before we went live that I still haven't got over the anger. I need to shake that off. Out today to celebrate the engagement with the missus, and a few whiskey sours should surely help shake the the anger off. But I'm just expecting a complete turnaround tomorrow. Get the 3 points, and as you said, we're a game closer to getting Sadio and Mo back, and, you know, trying to revive some sort of a challenge for the run into the season, the end of the season.
Well, first of all, congrats from everyone on the upper tier to yourself and Mandy on the engagement. Absolutely fantastic. Great news there. Before I get into team news, Jurgen Klopp gave his press conference yesterday. I don't know if you've seen the highlights of it or anything like that. He seems a little bit kind of sour or fed up or worn out from that protection wall of FSG. We're hearing another story came out today, another 2 billion thing with FSG or something like that, of investment or something like that. Another partnership, another big contract, more revenue coming into the club. But he seems to be running out. He's been constantly asked at the moment about the Mo Salah contract, which rightly so, because it seems to be dragging on an awful long time. Mo Salah his representatives seem to be saying one thing. Liverpool seem to be saying another thing, and I'm not too sure. He's saying he's not looking for the sun, moon, and the stars, if you like.
He's looking for some sort of... You bet your ass behind the scenes, Niall, he's looking for some sort of investment. One thing that's not annoyed me about Jurgen, I love Jurgen as much as you do. I love Jurgen as much as the most loyal of Liverpool fans does. Jurgen Klopp will never come out and do a Jose Mourinho and say, look, I've asked for this, that and the other, and I've been blatantly told no, and I'm just waiting for the escape door to open to either jump out with or be kicked out with. Just on the Mo Salah situation, Niall, I expect it to be done. I'm seeing stuff online that they're just waiting on the time to announce it and the perfect timing. My heart is saying, brilliant, I love this, I cannot wait, because straight away we're going to do a show, the happiness, everyone's going to be happy when Mo Salah signs a new deal.
Massive lift.
Fingers crossed. The longer it goes on, though, part of me is telling me what's happened before is that FSG want him to crack and say, I've tried my best, I've asked for this, that and the other, and it's not going to happen.
Which is kind of what he's saying. He's coming out and he's saying it's with them. Yeah. They know what I want. Let's get it done. I don't think Mo Salah wants to leave Liverpool, but I think Mo Salah has recognised his worth to the club.
Yeah, and anyone that thinks that Mo Salah should just stay in his place and just take what he's given. Niall, there's players out there who aren't half the player that Mo Salah is, and they're getting probably double what he's getting. If Kevin De Bruyne is getting I know Man City is on another planet financially. If Kevin De Bruyne is getting 400 grand a week, and Kevin De Bruyne has been the shadow of the player he's been this season, Mo Salah's done this consistently for the last 4 years, week in, week out. You take Mo Salah out of that Liverpool team, there's no Premier League title, there's no Champions League. Now, chances are someone else may have come in. We don't know, hindsight, all that kind of stuff. If Kevin De Bruyne is getting 400 grand a week, Mo Salah is the best player on the planet at the moment, has been for the last 3 years. Mo Salah gets 400 grand a week. Give him what he wants. If you're not going to give him the 400 grand a week, the bonus structure, give him that extra incentive. But for me, he's worked his bollocks off since he came into Liverpool. We were talking about this yesterday with two lads in work. When Mo Salah signed for Liverpool, we were talking about this recently as well. Everyone was like, is this the guy who's going to take Liverpool to the Premier League, to a Champions League, to constantly challenging Man City? And he has been. And I put both hands up. If I wasn't holding my phone, I'd put both hands up and say, I'll eat cake, because I didn't expect Mo Salah to be as good as he's been for us. And it's been so wonderful. And God forbid he does leave this summer, because if FSG aren't going to give him the contract that he wants, they're going to have to sell him this summer to make money off him. Because if Mo Salah leaves next summer on a free, you imagine the shit storm that's coming.
Yeah,
and trying to replace him.
Yeah, but I think in terms of Mo Salah, and I know what you're saying there in terms of the player he's become, but we have to remember as well, part of that is him and his hard work. Part of that is Klopp and the coaching team and their hard work. Part of it is the players around him, and part 100%. of it is FSG. So it's not just Mo Salah hasn't just sailed this ship on his own. But the other thing I'd say as well is, I think the financial aspect of it is already agreed, and I'm going to put it out now. I think Mo Salah has requested that he wants FSG to show him what their ambition, commitment, financial investment, who they're thinking of bringing in, what their plan is for the next, say, 2 years. And I think they're stalling on that. That's what I think it is, because I don't think this is Mo Salah's. They
won't spend the big bucks. Yeah,
this is his last big move. It's his last big contract. It's a 5-year. He'll probably see out his career at Liverpool, or maybe head off then to the MLS or something like that, or whatever it is. Yeah. So if this is his last big move, you know, there has to be a plan in there. We know there's players there that are not good enough. We know there's players that we need. We know there's players that are on the fringe. And I'd say he just wants to see, what is the plan for Liverpool Football Club? Is Liverpool Football Club going to be back at the top of that table again in terms of world football, like we were when we won the league and when we won the Champions League? Or are we just going to pitter-patter along here with a couple of loan moves, continuing with the norm, playing a few kids occasionally, bringing in maybe the odd signer for 20, 30 million? He wants to see a plan that makes Liverpool become absolutely unbeatable and world class, and he wants to be a huge part of that. And I can't fault him for that. But in terms of the money and the wages and the bonuses, I think that's already done. And what we're reading in the paper, the 400 grand and the 450 grand, all that, I don't think that's the case. I think when Mo Salah's contract comes out, I think he'll be somewhere between 350 with a bonus structure that brings him up to 4 or 450. And look, if he delivers on that bonus, so be it. That's great for the club. That's all we want is performance in the kids, you know. So that's where I'm at with Mo Salah at the moment. That's what I think is going on.
Can I just say what you said there? You smacked the nail like bang in the head regarding wanting FSG to show their aces and show their ambition. It's about time a big player at the club has now, he's obviously not come out and said that publicly, but we did read reports. I think Fabrizio Romano said it as well. This is what Mo Salah has said. He wants to stay. He loves the club. Did you listen to the interview about Jurgen Klopp? It's like a father. It's like that father and son bond that we all wish we had. I certainly felt that way when I heard what he said about Jurgen Klopp. If Mo Salah has turned around to FSG and says, I'll sign, don't worry about the financial side. If Mo Salah has turned around to them and said, I want a big striker to come in and two other players, big names. Now, we're not expecting them to go out and spend 450 million on 3 players. But what's really pissed me off about FSG is we won the Champions League. We never capitalised on that success, and then that summer went on and brought in 2 or 3 players to take us to the next level. Now, I know we went and won the Premier League the following season, but in my opinion, Jurgen Klopp is a once in a generation, a lifetime for me anyway. I'll probably never see another Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool when he leaves.
Yeah. As Darren says, when Darren's on the episodes, he says Jurgen Klopp is the star at Liverpool, and when he leaves, that's where you're going to really see the problems. And I think he's right.
And you'll see that at Man City as well. Now, obviously, the financial structure will still be a Man City, so whoever comes in after Pep Guardiola, he can turn around and say, right, well, I'll have 5 or 6 players that are all 80, 90 million players, and this will help me settle in, and chances are I'm probably going to win the league, even though I'm not a good enough manager to manage these players, but the players are good enough to go off and do the business, because let's be realistic, me and you could go out and do fucking Mike Bassett and win the league with Man City, probably. But if you're with Jurgen Klopp there, if Mo Salah has said, I want this, that, and the other, right? We'd all love Erling Haaland to come in. I've kind of, Mbappe 2021, I've kind of just, that's gone, left my mind. But someone of that structure, someone of that level to come in and play through the middle, where Mo Salah, let's not forget, Mo Salah is not a striker. And he's been the best striker in the world for the last 4 years. Yeah. On a par with Lewandowski. Jurgen Klopp has come in, we won a Champions League, we won a league, never capitalised on that success in those summers, and we expected last year to go out and buy 2 or 3 players and just dominate football for 10 years. Instead, FSG have just, I don't know what they've done behind the scenes. I know they went off and bought an ice hockey team, but we've let everyone else catch up on us. We've let Chelsea catch up on us. I'm not going to say Man United, but they've went out and spent the money to try and get up to our level. You know what I mean? Everybody else is slowly creeping up on us, and we're lucky enough that we still have a good set of players that we can stay in the top 2 or 3. I don't want to be Arsenal. I want, after winning the league and feeling that success, and purely the pure selfishness in me, I want to go to Liverpool and celebrate a league title. You know, the hurt I felt, and you, all of us that were supposed to go over for the Newcastle game and be out there for the parade. I want to go over and feel that, feel what people felt all those years ago, you know, out on the street celebrating league titles. So for me, FSG need to back Jurgen. They need to fulfill promises to the likes of Mo Salah. Fernando Torres was promised the sun, moon, and the stars. Absolutely idolised at Liverpool, loved by everybody. Gillette and Hicks, and that's the last I mention of them. They broke every promise imaginable, and this is where we are. Let's move on and talk about the Brentford game, can we?
Well, let's get into Brentford then. The power of positivity is back. So team news at the moment, obviously Salah, Mane and Naby Keita still at AFCON out there at the moment. Injuries at the moment, Nat Phillips, Thiago, Harvey Elliott and Divock Origi won't return in time. Trent appeared a little bit rusty the other night, so there might be a change coming there, or maybe it's time, I mentioned it the other day, maybe it's time that Neco goes in there and maybe we move Trent a little bit forward, because we've no creativity in midfield at all with the 3 that played the other night. They were way off the park. In terms of Brentford, Onyeka remains on AFCON duty. Canos has left and gone to Southampton. He exited the Southampton game early with an apparent hamstring problem. De Silva, David Raya, Charlie Gould, and Matthias Jorgensen, they're all absent. But Rico Henry should be back. He's available. So in terms of lineups, you're looking at Liverpool. This is the predicted lineup going out there, a possible lineup. In nets, Alisson, Williams, Matip, Van Dijk, Tomiskas, Henderson, Fabinho, Jones, Jota, Firmino, and Minamino. Now, I know you have strong views on some of those there. Obviously, Minamino probably has to come out, and it's a time maybe to put Kate Gordon in there and let's see what he can do potentially.
100%.
If you're looking at any others there you would change or anything else there you're thinking, Jones into midfield has to be that bit of creativity, doesn't it?
Jones into the midfield. I don't know what you think about Jordan Henderson in the last couple of games, Niall. I just haven't been feeling it from him. I was looking online and proposed lineups as well, and I seen one that was Fabinho, Ox, and Curtis Jones. I just don't know. Is Henderson going to go on a run of a few games that he's going to play like below the level that we expect from him? Tomorrow, I'd definitely be putting Curtis Jones in there anyway. When he came on, I think he got our only shot on target against Arsenal the other night. You know, he came on, he did have that liveliness about him. So, yeah, I'd definitely be starting him. I don't know. I'd be tossing a coin about Henderson and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Henderson, for me, the last few weeks, he's not really been at it.
Is this a case where you might throw in Tyler?
You know what? Yeah, I would. That'd be my lineup tomorrow. Would be the projected back five that you said there. That I've no problems whatsoever with that. Yeah. And then Fabinho, Tyler, Curtis Jones, and then a front three of Minamino, Firmino, Jota, and Kate Gordon. You know, I think Minamino's had his chances. You know what I mean? The midfield the other night lacked that creativity. He's got to definitely change something because Brentford won't fear us tomorrow night, and that's my worry. Yeah. Teams don't fear us. Teams come out and play Man City, and I know people hear me talking about Man City. I'm just using them because they're our rivals, and that's who's at the top of the table at the moment. Teams go out and play Man City, and they're afraid to attack because they're afraid if they go a goal down that it's going to be an absolute tragedy. Whereas when we play teams, nobody fears us now. And we need to get that killer instinct back. We need to get that intent back. We need to get that softness out of us. Go out and humiliate teams because that's if you're going to win a league, that's what you have to do. So tomorrow I want to see that killer instinct back. But tomorrow would definitely be thrown in Curtis Jones. And for me, Kate Gordon starts up top.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing I said to Ian yesterday. We did a preview for the City Chelsea game, and the one thing I said about Pep yesterday, even when he goes 3-0 up, he wants 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. Yeah. He wants to absolutely humiliate teams, and his drive and his push and that. And that's something I really admire about Pep. Like, he never takes the foot off the gas. It doesn't matter if he's 3 or 4-0 up. He wants more and more and more all the time. In terms of Brentford, so we have Fernandes, Ajer, Janssen, Pinnock, Ruslev, Janolt, Norgard, Jensen, Henry, Vissa, and Toney. Now, obviously, the danger man there, Toney, is absolutely used. And he may play, what's the other guy, Mbeumo, who's in good form at the moment.
He's in good form too.
But I'm not too sure. This is a predicted line, so I'm not sure if he's carrying a knock or if it's something related to CV. But this is the possible lineup that they're putting out there at the moment. I mean, obviously, we know Ivan Toney is obviously the danger. He's an absolute powerhouse in there. And I'm just wondering, will Klopp be brave enough to make those changes, or would he hold fire and maybe hold those changes maybe for the Arsenal game next week, the second leg? I'm not too sure. That
in mind too, yeah. Just on Ivan Toney, a Liverpool fan has openly came out and said he'd love to play for Liverpool. If you're throwing a little cheeky punt on a game, even though I think Liverpool will win tomorrow 4-1, stick €5 on Ivan Toney to score tomorrow. How many times over the last few years have Liverpool fans gone to Liverpool at Anfield and scored? So it's kind of written in the stars, isn't it?
Yeah, don't even remind me about Michael Thomas. I'm not even going back there.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. Let's move on.
Right. Talk to me. Predictions then. What are you going with?
4-1, Diogo Jota with the first goal. If Kate Gordon scores, I'm going to stick a few shekels on him to score any time. I'm expecting a massive turnaround after Thursday night's absolute tragedy of a performance. Back to winning ways, get a bit of momentum before we go off to the Emirates, and hopefully get ourselves a trip to Anfield South and another domestic trophy in the cabinet.
Yeah, this is going to be a massive game tomorrow. Especially in light of the fact that City are playing Chelsea today. So anything can happen in that. Either some team is going to drop points one way or another.
I think Chelsea are going to win.
That's what Ian's thinking as well. And he thinks it's going to be 3-1 as well, which is a big shout.
But that's a big fucking, kick in the balls for us as well, because as much as we want to win the league, you want to finish above Chelsea. But I don't know, there's something about Chelsea at the moment, even with the players that are missing, and even with the storm around Lukaku, and he's not really doing the business. They're just a unit at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. The one thing about it, though, if Chelsea win tomorrow Chelsea win today and we win tomorrow, yes, we'll be a point behind Chelsea. But the gap between
we're also 3 points clear at the Man City.
Yeah, and we have a game in hand at 8 points, so we could bring that back to 5 potentially with our game in hand against Leeds that was called off. I'm thinking
tight, is it again?
Yeah, I'm thinking 2-1 again. I think we're going to make hard work of this. I think Brentford will be up for it. They know that our key players are missing. They won't be too sure what kind of lineup we're going to put out there,
and they won't care.
And they don't care. No, absolutely.
Nope.
That's the one thing about Brentford this season is they've gone to play teams, and when they've gone, they've come to play, and they do play football. They match you man for man. They're not the kind of team. They wouldn't be like a Burnley where they sit in with 2 banks of forward and try and kill you on the break with a sneaky one or something like that. They come to play football. Now, because they come to play football, that might play into our hands. So it depends on what the situation is with Trent there and Neko. Miskis, I'm not too worried about it. I think if he comes in for Robbo, because apparently Robbo took another knock in the Arsenal game as well, so maybe he needs a day off. Let's see what happens there. But we need that bit of creativity and we need something different. We can't just be relying on the backs there. They keep on lobbing balls in there and something's going to happen. We need a bit of play through the middle. We need a bit of triangle play and link up play.
100%. And I just want to hear a bit of noise from the Anfield faithful. The amount of times we hear of being the best fans in the world, and at times we are. But Thursday night was really pissed me off. It was so quiet. Arsenal fans singing your support is fucking shit, and rightly so, because it was pathetic the other night.
Yeah,
we've been at Anfield how many times, and it was getting in the full flow of songs, and then just like that, the songs stop, and everyone's just kind of looking at you as you'd say, like, "Shut up, singing, will you, and watch the match?" And I'm like, "No, I want to make noise. I want to get behind the team." Cup semi-final the other night, and it was just flat.
Pin drop stuff.
It was
as
flat.
I said, it's a kind of a balance there as well. I mean, the team has a responsibility to give the crowd something to cheer about as well. And I always say that, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like people are there and they don't want to cheer, but if you're sitting there and as you said, watching, look at how frustrated you were the other night watching the game. You wouldn't have been cheering. But as I said, power of positivity. Back in the Premier League, 2:00 tomorrow. Gonna pick up the 3 points, the Reds. That's all I can say. Drop your predictions into the comments on the episode, or if you want to contact us, you know where we are at Session Shankly, the Upper Tier Podcast on Gmail. My friend, a pleasure, and I will talk to you tomorrow after the game for a reaction and player ratings. Go ahead.
Just one other thing before we go, no, just for Irish Reds fans living here in Ireland, obviously, the Anne series is 4 episodes. The Anne series regarding Anne Williams, Iron, the real Iron lady, not that other beep, which we won't talk about. I watched the first 2 episodes with the missus last night, who was no interest in football whatsoever. She watched Liverpool losing games and me getting so upset and telling me it's only game football. But we watched it last night. The two of us, to say the 2 of us were an emotional wreck after it was an understatement. Any Irish fans who haven't seen it, go on to the Virgin Media player. The first 2 episodes are up. 3rd episode is on next Thursday night. Really, really, really worth watching. It's absolutely outstanding. As much as it'll make your blood boil, you'll feel every emotion in life watching it. But this woman,
it's an incredible story.
It's an incredible story, and there was 4 or 5 times I'm getting upset now even thinking about it, but they just showed actual footage from that day and the actual police officer who tried to give mouth to mouth to our son Kevin and save his life, and the lies that were told. They made 2 police officers lie to Anne Williams after she'd been told that her son was still alive after a certain time. Yeah, it just, you have to watch it. As I've just spoken about now, hopefully Niall's going to watch it, and when the 4 episodes are done, we're going to do a Shankly session special on it. But
yeah, absolutely.
And just get on and watch it, guys.
It's a roller for a Liverpool fan. Bring a box of tissues with you, no doubt about it.
100%.
But it's a roller coaster of sadness and emotion and anger and frustration. It's every single emotion rolled up into a ball. And so as a Reds fan, and you know, as a guy who I watched this on telly,
you lived through it, yeah. You watched it.
I lived through the lies, the deceit, all this stuff. I can't talk about, because when I talk about it, my blood boils, and I'm trying to keep calm. It's Saturday. It's a good day's football ahead. Enjoy your football, guys. But yeah, any of you,
anyone that's around my age, and we'll just leave at this. Anyone that's around my age who wasn't, not saying you're ancient, Niall, but you kind of are. But anyone who's too young to remember that day, like I was 5 years old, so I've no recollection. Liverpool Football Club didn't mean anything to me when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe I watched them on the telly, but I wasn't a fan as such. And any 5-year-old who says that they were, probably is a liar. But to watch it back now and to know the full meaning and the understanding of what happened that day and the lies that were told and how all this came to full circle last year, you need to watch this and then have your say. And as I said, me and Niall are going to do a special on it when we get around to watching the 4 of them. And then hopefully we get some sort of a chat on with fans and get their immediate reactions and how they feel about it. Anyone that didn't know the full meaning and story to it, you need to go and watch that. We'll leave it at that. So have a good weekend, guys. Yeah. Peace out and power of positivity for 2022. Come on, the Reds.
As I say to people, when we travel over to Liverpool, our first stop is always the Memorial, and there's a reason why. Yeah. Till next time, Reds, we will catch you tomorrow for a match reaction and player ratings. Dino, pleasure as always, my man.
Peace out, my man.